Hello and welcome to the Advanced Age Role-Playing Gamers Podcast. This is another Silver Alert coming to you from GenCon 2024. We are in the Chaosium booth. You can't see the cube up there, but it's giant, and I'm glad it's not over my head right now. But standing next to me is Brian Holland from Chaosium, the marketing director.
Yeah, thanks for having me. And just on that cube also took like 3 hours to put together. So yeah. If I never see it again, I'll be happy. But at least it looks good. So
how's the show going for Chaosium so far?
Really good. We're super busy. I'm not sure if you guys have been over there yet, but we've actually got a Call of Cthulhu event room just across the hall. It's decked out to be like a New Year's Eve party in 1924. We've got some professional cosplayers out the front, and you should definitely go check it out. And I'm not sure when this is going up. Probably not live, right?
No.
But if you're not here, you missed out. That's all I'm going to say. Yeah.
That's great. So, reason I want to talk to you today is like last year when we spoke to you, there's the Pendragon starter kit, but now it's been fully released.
Yeah. So we now have full Pendragon Sixth Edition core book has come out. So this was Greg Stafford, the founder of our company, who passed away a few years ago. He considered this to be his magnum opus. So this is the game of Arthurian legends where everybody plays a knight, but the question of the game is what kind of knight will you become? And we mean that not in the sense of like, are you a knight that uses a bow or a knight that, we mean like, what is your personality? Will you strive towards the classic chivalrous traits, or will you go the more sort of Jaime Lannister route of, using your clout and power to, overthrow people and question the downtrodden? So it's a game about what it means to be a knight and also what it means to be a person in a world of brutal medieval realism. Yeah. So we've got the core book is out, and this is everything you need to create a character and all that kind of stuff. And the beautiful, brilliantly designed D20 roll low mechanic that Greg Stafford put together, which is really, really elegant.
Yeah, we played some D20 roll under, and it plays pretty fast. I think it's easy for new players to get a hold of. So for folks that like you've talked about the knights, but what kinds of are they adventures? What are you doing when you're playing the game?
So we're set in the world of King Arthur's Britain, right, which is mythic Britain. So there are things like, as much as the GM wants, there are things like the Fae and giants and questing beasts and things like that, right? It's generally a session of Pendragon or a game of Pendragon. Is that there is a quest, an adventure of some kind that the group of player knights must go on. And when they go on these quests, they are seeking glory, and glory is sort of the currency of the game. Like as you defeat bandits, as you conquer giants, as you overthrow false kings, your players each accumulate glory, right? And glory is a stat in the game. And each adventure, when your adventure concludes, you actually progress the timeline one full year. We have a downtime period called the winter phase where things like, you check to see, your family's income, but you also check to see if, have you had any children? And if you have, how were they born? What traits did they inherit from you? And because every session you play, 1 year is going to pass, those children are going to get older and so are you. And whether by the sword or from old age, you will die. And then you can resume play as your heir. So the Great Pendragon campaign actually spans 80 in-game years.
That's amazing. So is there going to be a campaign book to go along with this?
So I'm so look at this dynamite. Look at that. So this is the campaign book which launched alongside the core book is called The Grey Knight. So last year we did talk about the starter set. So the starter set has a standalone campaign inside it, which is designed for new players. That's called the Sword Campaign, and that's literally like your player knights are present when Arthur draws the sword from the stone when he is a boy and becomes the boy king. There are actually rules in the Grey Knight campaign to bridge the Sword Campaign from the starter set to this. So you can actually turn it into a longer form campaign. In the Grey Knight, King Arthur's court is thrown into turmoil when a mysterious Grey Knight comes to court and accuses King Arthur of the murder of innocent people.
Oh.
And it is up to the player knights to quest to find the truth of the matter and also to discover the origins of who the Grey Knight is and how, if he can, in fact, be defeated in combat.
That sounds a lot of drama.
Yes. Yeah. Pendragon is a game about passion, emotion, and drama, and we reinforce that with the mechanics of the game, which are literally about your character's individual personality traits, but also the things they are directly passionate about. And you draw on your passions mechanically to give yourself bonuses. So, for instance, if you are about to face down an evil knight in combat, and the knight has turned his nose up at your lord, you could draw upon your passion for loyalty, the loyalty you have, and when you do that, you make a roll against that passion, and if you succeed, you will get a bonus to your combat rolls against him. Yeah, so there's and then that's one example. You could be like if you are in a conversation with somebody who you love and you're trying to convince them of something, you can draw upon your love for them to give you a bonus to that social role, that kind of thing, right? So the game is all about passion, emotion, and also how those things change over time.
Now you're talking about these characters having different kinds of traits, and they're each maybe focusing on certain types of traits that are important to them. Is that kind of how the characters kind of differentiate themselves? Because are there character classes?
Yeah, so that's the thing. So there aren't character classes in the traditional sense. Like none of our games here at Chaosium traditionally follow that class route. The biggest differentiator is mainly the personality traits, and the personality traits are a series of binary traits. So you've got like chaste and lustful, and cruel and merciful, and vengeful and forgiving, right? And those traits, mechanically, you have 20 points between them. So if your chaste goes up, your lustful will go down. If any of these traits become particularly high, like I told you, you've got 20 points between them. So if you're right down the middle, you'll have 10 and 10. If one gets to 16 and the other one's 4, that means your character is famous for that particular thing. So my favorite example is if your character is famously honest, if you have an honesty of 16 and a deception of, or a lying of 4, everyone knows the classic TTRPG scenario where something's gone wrong, but you think you've swept under the rug. You're like, hey, when we go and turn in this quest or speak to the king, let's just leave out the part where we did that. He doesn't need to know that, right? And all the players might agree that's definitely the best course of action. However, this is a role-playing game, and if you are famously honest, and that's what everyone wants to do, you're going to have to roll against your honest, and you're going to want to fail that honesty, because if you pass it, your character is going to have to be honest to the king. And this is when this game is unique in that it really puts the role-playing at the forefront and forces you to look at the character sheet and think not just, what character do you want to play, but what character is developing from the story, because those traits can change through play, both through your decisions, but also from the result of dice rolls. And it's kind of like surrendering yourself to a story while also letting yourself be influenced by it and influence it. So that's why Pendragon is so unique.
Yeah, so your character can develop, maybe not necessarily in the way that you originally envisioned, but if you're kind of leaving things to the dice, you could come up with a more interesting, more realistic, more emotional result.
Exactly. So I've actually been running this with a group online, and when you play the game, you can choose to do a point distribution for your traits, or you can choose to roll them randomly. And I suggested we roll them randomly because what that resulted in was 3 of our 4 players all said the exact same thing, which was, this is never a character that I would sit down and envision and say that's what I want to play. One of the players was actually a bit like worried, like, oh, I've never played a character like that. What am I going to do? Like, this is not the kind of character I want to play. And then when they sat down and realized, like, oh no, this is giving me a vessel to try something I've never tried before, and in some ways might push you out of your comfort zone, but in a good way, because it gives you the example. There's some combinations of these traits, like I've got a high lustful, but I've also got a really high religion. Like, how do you recognize that? If you're a Christian who's extreme, well, that means the player was like, well, clearly I must be internally conflicted about this. And the player said, I would never sit down and be like, oh, I might make a really internally conflicted religious person. Like, no, like some people might, but this particular player was like, I would never have thought to do that, right? And, so that's the kind of thing that can come out of a game like this, where we put the mechanics of your personality so at the forefront of the game itself.
I think some of the power of role-playing games is kind of just being outside of yourself a bit and just letting go and just trying something different. And I think the mechanics you've described really support that and could lead to some really interesting role play.
Yeah, well, 100%. And as I said, if you can pick up the starter set that's got everything you need to play in it.
Yeah.
Starter adventures, solo scenario that teaches you the rules of the game. But then also, if you just want to jump in fully, you can get the player's handbook. Sorry, not the player's handbook, the core rulebook. It was originally going to be called the player's handbook.
Okay.
That's why, yeah. And the Grey Knight campaign. So that's something that'll keep you busy for many sessions.
Are there any supplements on the horizon that you can talk about?
Yeah. So there will essentially be 3 core books for the range. So the core book is the first one. This is everything you need to play. We've also got a Game Master book coming up, which does everything you think a Game Master book will do. It expands a lot of things. We've also got a book called the Noble's Handbook, which is going to go more into some of sort of the Civ simulation type stuff that some people find really interesting. Like if you want to look into how do your holdings work, how will your the lands your knight has, how can you change them and develop them over time. And if you're a player who really likes that sort of almost not necessarily real-time strategy thing, but if you like that sort of top-level land management simulation being added into your game,
it's the guy behind the camera.
Yeah, that's what you need to do. So that's that. And there's also obviously a bunch of stuff about the nobility and the noble class and all that kind of stuff. So they're the 3 core books that are on the horizon.
Okay, and next year sometime you think? Or?
The rest of the Pendragon core books will be out in 2025. I can't tell you exactly when or in what order, but I believe the GM book I would say is early next year.
You've exhausted my questions.
Good.
Do you have anything else?
No. Everyone, if you've never been to GenCon, make sure you come by the Chaosium booth and check out what we're doing. That's not just in our booth, and that reminds me. So you two have to immediately go over to our New Year's Eve room. That's what you got to do.
All right. Yeah. We'll do that.
Cool.
Thanks, Brian.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. See you guys.